In this bulletin, case numbers continue to grow. Lautoka hospital staff and patients discharged. And Consumer Council receives more complaints. Good afternoon. Fiji has recorded 27 new COVID-19 cases yesterday. This as 14 more cases have been announced last night. 13 of the latest cases are contacts of previously announced cases, with 9 from the Navy cluster, and now 22 cases are related to this cluster. There are 3 contacts of the Waila cluster, which one case is a household contact of case 244 in the Moanikoso cluster. There is one case who was a day patient at CWM Hospital. The woman was not admitted but was tested as part of a pre-admission screening program that is being conducted at the hospital. Health Permanent Secretary Dr. James Fong says investigations are ongoing into the possible source of her infection. There are 8 more recoveries, which means there are now 127 active cases in isolation. Fiji has had 286 cases in total, with 155 recoveries and 4 deaths since our first case was reported on March 19, 2020. The patients and staff who were sequestered at the Lautoka hospital have been discharged today. This as the Lautoka hospital has completed 21 days of sequestration and will be open to the public on June 1st. In a statement, the Ministry of Health says it has also been 21 days since the last case of COVID-19 was recorded from within the Lautoka hospital. 4 rounds of testing for all patients and staff have been completed as well. The ministry adds that only emergency services will be operational at the hospital from tomorrow. The Fiji Emergency Medical Assistance Team will also wrap up operations in Lautoka once the hospital is open next week. As the vaccination drives continue in most parts of Viti, one COVID-19 survivor is advocating the need to follow COVID-19 restrictions in a bid to contain the virus. Semesa Leweni of Nanukuloa Saivo in the Ra province tested positive for COVID-19 on the 27th of last month. Chosaina Nunga with the story.
When it was almost taboo to talk about getting the virus in our traditional settings, Semesa Leweni is amongst COVID-19 survivors who has stepped forward to share his story.
At first, I thought it was just a flu. I visited the Rugby hospital and got swabbed on the 24th of last month. I then consulted a doctor at the Nanukuloa Health Center. After 2 days, by then I received a call from the Rugby hospital that I had contracted the virus.
The 53-year-old who works as a caretaker at the Ra provincial office says his faith kept him going and enabled him conquer the virus, which to date has not had a source detected.
I was in the isolation facility for 10 solid days. My wife was isolated at another facility. After a few days in the facility, I noticed that my health has improved. I continue to thank the Lord for his provision and guidance during these trying times.
For some, the situation may trigger prolonged psychological issues, but the support from the community after the incubation period is critical to ensure COVID survivors return to normalcy at the earliest.
Stigmatizing COVID-19 patients will not help them when they recover. We need to show our support and welcome them back to the society after being in a quarantine or isolation facility for a given time.
Meanwhile, the Health Ministry lifted borders for the lockdown areas of Neira Rekraki, Dokonawatu Nanukuloa, and Naiserlangi Saivu in Ra on Sunday morning. Chosaina Nuga, FBC News.
The Fiji-Australia Vuvale partnership is soaring to new heights as Fiji has received another batch of 50,000 AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccines from the Australian government. Health Minister Dr. Iferemi Wanganambete says this gift of vaccines and the 1 million doses of COVID-19 vaccine pledge will greatly ensure that we meet the target population. He says the vaccines are important in terms of our containment strategy.
The vaccines are a very important layer, as we all would know, in terms of our containment strategy. We also want to make sure that we work very effectively in supporting the economic growth of our nation.
Retailers across Viti Levu are taking advantage of the current COVID-19 situation to exploit customers. Consumer Council of Fiji CEO Sima Shandil says that this is visible in the absence of weekend sales and increasing complaints of price hikes and price gouging. Shandil is pleading with retailers to be considerate of Fijians during this difficult time.
This makes it evident that certain retailers are employing unethical practices to profiteer when most Fijians are suffering.
The University of the South Pacific will next week issue a statement on the council meeting which happened yesterday and will resume next Wednesday. In a statement, USP says the council meeting did not conclude on Tuesday and has been deferred to next Wednesday when an official press release will be issued on the outcomes of the meeting. FBC News has been informed that Vice-Chancellor Professor Pal Aluwalia will be given a new contract and will be based out of Samoa. Majority of the council members voted for this, and it is believed that there are few other issues that will be discussed on Wednesday. Up ahead, Australia warm up on the cards for Welcome back. Plans are in the pipeline to send Team Fiji for some game time to Australia ahead of the Tokyo Olympic Games. Fessenok has been having discussions with the Fiji Sports Commission and the Australian government on the matter. Sports Commission Chair Peter Maisy says this will be timely for Team Fiji as the Olympic looms.
The Australian government is assisting in seeing swimming and athletics and our rugby team, sevens teams, men and women, go to Australia for competition and training.
With Leone Nakarawa set to join Ulster for the new season, flying Fijian halfback Nicola Matawalu says it was an honor playing alongside one of the greatest lock forward in Fiji.
Don't want to say anything about him because everyone knows him and what he can do on the ground, to share the field with him.
International rugby players, including Fijians, could lose up to millions of dollars with Japanese club rugby looking to change rules around foreign players. The sun is about to set on the top league competition, and while big names All Blacks will be welcomed in the new structure, other Kiwis might not. The Fiji Association of Sports and National Olympic Committee will hold off its annual general meeting till they're able to have face-to-face meet with its federations. This as Fiji continues to face the second wave of the pandemic. Chief Executive Lorraine Ma says although there is an option of holding a virtual meeting, the association does not want to take that option. The AGM was scheduled to be held last month, and Ma says they want to ensure everyone is able to attend it once the date is confirmed.
Having a virtual meeting is very good, but then it disadvantages people who may not have a computer access to the platform.
And on to the weather, a high-pressure system to the far southwest of Fiji is expected to generate and direct heavy to damaging southerly swells over the southern waters and coastal areas of the country. That's FBC News Now. Join us for our one-hour major bulletin at 7 p.m. And be sure to download the FBC app to access the latest in news, sports, and live radio broadcasts from any of our 6 FBC radio stations. Stay safe and good afternoon.